Alright everyone, I want to first start off by saying I really hope that you can't hear all of the mowing in the background. You probably can, I'm sorry. Both my neighbors to the left and the right of me decided that today was the day that they were going to mow their lawn. And I have to get this over with because I have a date I'm going on, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I've been reading recently. I guess you could call this a wrap up, but seeing as how it's the middle of October, I'm just going to be doing the books from September till now. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Birthday by Meredith Russo. This book is amazing. It is about a transgender woman and her finding her way as a young teen, and it's about her and the love of her life, which just so happens to be the boy who shares her birthday and has been her best friend her entire life. And it's beautiful and heart-wrenching and heartwarming. It's so good, and it'll make you think. I highly recommend this book. I don't want to give too much detail into it. I will say that there is several triggers, especially if it's something that you're going through, or if you've thought about suicide possibly. That's a big trigger in this book, but it is so good. I highly recommend Birthday. All right, so that's the first book. And one of my only 5-star reads, I'm just gonna say. I think I have like maybe 3 out of 20 plus books or so, and so this wasn't that high of a reading month for me. I read a lot of books, but unfortunately not a lot of 5-star reads this month. The next book that I read is Where I End by Michelle Dare. This book was pretty good. I gave it a 3-star review. On this one, I will say that the author told me what happened more than showed me what happened. There is a ton of trigger warnings for rape, abuse. The rape is by a male in a parental figure, so I will warn you on that. It's sad, and I thought it could have been so good. It had the potential of being a 5-star book, but like I said, it just felt like it was kind of a first draft instead of the final book for me. So 3-star review. It was pretty good, but yeah, could have been better. The next book that I'm going to be talking about, and hopefully I'm not too long-winded in this, I will say I have several books to go ahead and get through. The next book that I read is Home Game by Odette Stone. I believe it's Odette Stone. And this one was a 5-star book for me as well. This was the first book I read by Odette, and I loved it. It's a hockey romance, so I will say that it was angsty and slow burn, and you have the gorgeous guy meets owner's daughter, so it has some cliches in it, but it was so good. I listened to it on audiobook. I highly recommend the audiobook. There was a lot of drama. There was a ton of angst, and it was good. It was really good. All right, the next book I read was Filthy Beautiful Lies by Kendall Ryan. And this one is every single cliche trope that you could put in a book was in this book. I gave it a 3-star review, probably more 2.5. It was a little ridiculous, but it was enough that it kept my interest, and I did end up going on to read the second book. I will say that in this book, she auctions herself off to the highest bidder because her sister has cancer and they're needing money for an experimental treatment. And so, of course, instead of getting some kind of sleazy, slimeball, nasty-looking old man, which is, what would have happened in reality, she ends up getting this hot, broody, gorgeous, guy who owns a mansion and a billion-dollar company. I mean, it's outrageous. Every single cliche you could possibly imagine was in this book. It did end on a cliffhanger that I did expect, and I kind of knew what the cliffhanger was that was going to happen, and it did come true, and so I did go ahead and I picked up the second book, and the second book I gave a 2-star, or no, 4 stars, sorry. So the second book was actually really good. I gave Filthy Beautiful Love a 4-star review, and this one, it went in a completely different direction than the first book. It's about the same couple, and this one was actually heartbreaking. It was so sad, and I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil it if you decide to read it. I did really, really like this book. In fact, I liked it so much that I went on to the third book, which is the next book I'm going to talk about. And this one I hated. Guys, I hated this one, Filthy Beautiful Lust. It's actually about the main guy in the first and second book. It's about his brother, and his brother meets a she works for the company of his brother, and she's a single mom. It's about Pace and Kylie. Kylie, I loved during the first and second book. I loved her. I was so excited for this book, guys. I was so excited to find out how it ends. And I hated Kylie in this third book. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know what went wrong with Kindle's writing, but this turned into a hot fucking mess. I'm just saying now, it turned into a hot mess. I hated the heroine. I love the hero, but even he annoyed me in some parts. I gave it a 2-star. It should have probably been 1. I hated this book, guys. Don't want to spend too much time on that one. All right. So that's all the physical books that I have that I read this month. The next book that I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I had heard a whole bunch of things about this book. I know that several booktubers that I follow love Riley Sager, especially Gabby from Gabby Reads. I love her, and she loves Riley Sager. So I decided to go ahead and try this. I gave it a 4-star review. I have to say, I'm not really big on thrillers, mysteries. I mean, I enjoy them, but I'm more into romance. So this really isn't my typical trope or my typical style of book. I thought it would be a little bit more suspenseful and scary than it was. I was really confused during some of it, and it had a supernatural element to it that kind of threw me off. And don't get me wrong, I love vampires, and I love my mystical creatures and stuff, but this was just bizarre. It was good, and I really liked it, but I didn't love it. So 4 stars. The next book I read was The Wrong Game by Candy Steiner. Now, I read Waitlist by Candy Steiner about a month and a half or 2 ago, and it was one of my favorite books of this year. Waitlist is such a good book. I highly recommend it. However, The Wrong Game, I did not like. And I'm sad because I thought I would love it. It's about football. It's like literally the whole thing is based on football. And I am a huge football fanatic. I mean, my Oklahoma Sooners just beat Texas, so I'm like still riding that high from yesterday's game. I'm so excited about that. So I'm thinking this is my kind of book. No. It has kind of a love triangle element to it, but not really. And I love a good love triangle, guys. I love the angst. I love drama. I love a good love triangle. Sometimes the more angsty, the better. This was not that, though. This was about a girl whose husband had cheated on her, so and then he dies. And so she decides, about 10 months later, that she's going to buy 2 game tickets, or she had already bought 2 game tickets for her and her husband before he died, and so now she has an extra ticket. So she decides that she's going to go ahead and pick up a new guy every single game and go to a game with a new guy. And she sticks to her plan. She decides, hey, I'm going to do this. Well, the very first game, she meets this bartender, and he's gorgeous, and he's everything she wants. And they go and they have this amazing time, and he wants to keep seeing her. He, like, falls head over heels for her, wants to keep seeing her. And she says, no, I'm sticking to my plan. I'm going to keep going out with other guys. I'm not ready to date. He doesn't take no for an answer and ends up, like, stalking the people next to them, getting tickets next to hers. And so she brings other guys, and she's doing her own thing, and he's, like, stalking her. And it's their love story, and it's bizarre and awkward, and it took me like a month to get through this book. I didn't like it. I gave it a 3-star review, and that was being generous because I really like this author. This book was not for me. Okay, the next book I read, it's actually a duet by Amy Knight. The first book is Beneath His Stars, and the second book is In Her Space. I gave the first book 4 stars, and I gave the second book 3 stars. I will say that this is about Adam Nova and Livingston Montgomery, and it is their love story. The first book starts out when they're, like, in high school, and they're just meeting, and it's cute. It's not real romance filled. It's more YA on this one. And it was cute. I enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobook. I did like the audiobook version of it. I thought it was pretty good. The second book kind of went awkward. It's like 10 years later, and he came back for revenge against a cop in that area, and now all of a sudden he's a millionaire, and, you know, I mean, it was okay. I would say I'd recommend the audiobook, but it's, you know, I liked it, I didn't love it kind of thing. So the next book I read was The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart, and this one I gave 5 stars to. I really loved this book. This is an underdog story. This is literally about the guy who's on the right of the picture. So he's not the gorgeous, you know, quarterback that he lives with. He's a nice looking guy, but he's not that great looking. His roommate gets all the girls, and he falls hard for this girl, and she almost immediately puts him in the friend zone, and it's a slow burn romance. It's their love story. I really enjoyed this one. It was super cute. I like the amount of angst and drama that was in it. I like the characters really well. I liked their banter, and there was a lot of humor in this book that I really enjoyed. I highly recommend this book. And so there's that one, and she's actually going to be, that's a book that I want to get a physical copy of because she's going to be at Book Bonanza, and I'm super excited to meet her because I really like that book. The next book that I picked up the next book that I read was On the Plus Side by Tabitha Vargo. This book quickly went from being a 5-star read down to a 3-star read for me. I was super excited whenever I first got this book because it's literally called On the Plus Side because it's about the heroine, and she is a plus-sized woman, and, you know, I don't read a lot of plus-sized women in these books for some reason, and so I was super excited because this girl looks like me. Hey, that's awesome. No, it wasn't. Okay, so spoiler alert, just spoiler alert, okay? If you want to read this book, quit listening to this part of the review. The heroine's mother decides that she wants her daughter to have a higher self-esteem. So what she does is she goes in and she pays some dude to date her daughter, like $20,000. This is absolutely outrageous. Plus-size women can get guys on their own. We do not need our mothers or anybody else to go pay some dude to date us. And of course the dude falls in love with her, but he's still going to accept the money the whole way through. Guys, this book was absolutely outrageous, and I gave it a 3-star review, and that was me being generous once again, because I was so offended at the fact that this mother had to go out and think that she had to buy her daughter's love interest. Oh, whatever. Anyway, all right, next book. That one really made me upset. Okay, the next 2 books that I read was also part of a series. The first book is Attraction. The second book is Heat by Penny Reed. I hated these books, guys. Once again, the first book I gave 3 stars to. It started out okay. It's a really short read. Each book is like 180, 200 pages each, and I listened to it on audiobook. It was a super fast read. The characters were okay. I didn't feel any kind of wonderful connection to either one of them. The first book ended on a cliffhanger, and I was frustrated enough by that cliffhanger that I wanted to know what happened, so I immediately picked up the second book. And then the second book just went so downhill from there. I could not stand either one of these characters. I could give a crap less what happened to them. I don't remember their name. I don't remember half of the crap that happened. I do not recommend this series. I quit. Will not read anymore. I know that this author is super popular. I also know that Jessica from Peace Love Books has tried several times to get into this author's writing style, and she just can't. And I have learned that I'm just not one of those people. This isn't my kind of... I didn't like the author's writing style. I didn't like the characters. I didn't connect with anything. I think I'm done with this author. So, it is what it is. Next book I picked up was I Dare You by Chantel Tessier. And let me tell you guys, what the fuck did I actually read? This is a high school bullying romance, but this is like Corrupt by Penelope Douglas on steroids in high school. I mean, really, it was utterly outrageous. I was laughing at a lot of the serious plot line. I mean, I was laughing almost to the point of tears, because it was so like, what the actual fuck did I just read? It was kind of, I mean, it had some good parts to it, and it was funny enough, but it was a little outrageous. I give it a 3-star review. I think I've learned that I'm not a huge fan of bully romances. I know that that's a super popular trope, and a lot of people like it. Dark romances, it's okay, and if it's done well, it's done really well. And I can enjoy a book that's done really well. I love a lot of Penelope Douglas's books. However, this wasn't done that well. I'm sorry. It was utterly outrageous. So I don't really recommend this one. I gave it a 2.5-star review is what I gave it. The next book that I read, and we're just going downhill from here, guys. I'm sorry. The next book I read was Bring Down the Stars by Emma Scott. I gave this a 1.5-star review. I got to about 54% listening to the audiobook all the way through. And at 54%, I became so frustrated. This is supposed to be a love story, guys, and it's not. It's absolutely not. I mean, this is like, I'm reading an entire book about her being with the wrong guy. And I'm sorry, but that's not fun for me. If that's your thing, I like angst, I like drama, I like it all in my books, but I don't like reading about an entire book about her dating the wrong guy. That's not my thing. So it's about this girl who meets 2 guys. They're roommates. They've been best friends their whole lives. One of them's rich, one's poor. They stick together. Their friendship was the most exciting thing about this book. Other than that, I mean, she ends up dating the rich dude. He doesn't really have any chemistry with her. She doesn't have any chemistry with him the whole time. She's questioning their relationship and thinking about breaking it off, and then she doesn't. And it's like after 54%, I'm going, okay, the main couple has got to get together soon, right? So I start skimming the audiobook. And if you listen to audiobooks, you know, they're not that easy to skim, but I start skimming it. 74%. She's still with the wrong guy. And then all of a sudden there's a plot twist and they go off to war together. And so another spoiler alert on this one. If you want to read this book, quit listening now. She ends up cheating on the wrong guy with the right guy right before the two guys leave for war. And she can't get him out of her head. He's been in love with her the whole series, or the whole book, and they end up going off to war, and it ends on a cliffhanger. And to be honest with you, I could give a crap less about the second book in the series. I don't care what happens to this character. I just read and wasted an entire book on reading about a girl who's with the wrong guy. Really? Not my kind of book. I've heard wonderful things about Emma Scott, and eventually I'm going to give this author another chance, but this book was shit. Okay. Next book I read was Hide and Seek by Layla Frost. This was another book I listened to on audio. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It is about Piper and Jake. Now, some of these names in this book kind of made me laugh. I mean, Jake was actually named Jacoby because, you know, that's apparently a super sexy name. And Layla, is that her name? No, Piper. Sorry. Piper is she is a cake decorator, designer, cake maker, whatever you want to call it. But this book went from being a 5-star to a 4-star to a 3-star super fast. It was actually really good in some parts. I actually enjoyed the fact that this author didn't create a whole bunch of unnecessary drama and angst. There was kind of a whodunit factor at the end, but even then it was always about the main couple. There was no cheating involved. There was no stupid misunderstandings that a lot of romance books have in them that I've noticed lately. It was just a good old-fashioned romance. However, it was a little long-winded for what happened in the book, so I thought it could have been cut down a lot. Also, this was one of those things where virgin girl meets bad boy, and bad boy just can't get enough of this girl. Like, she has some kind of magical cake-induced vagina. I mean, not even kidding. Like, every single guy just can't get enough of her sweet-smelling cake. Really? I mean, come on. What woman's hoo-ha smells like cake? It's ridiculous. So I gave it a 3-star review. It was okay, but it wasn't that great. And that was the 100th book that I read this year. I will say books that I am currently reading right now is I'm reading B.B. Easton's 44 Chapters About 4 Men. And so far, I would say this is about a 4-star book for me. I'm about 54% through. I hope that it's still a 4-star. It's made me laugh out loud. It's funny. It's kind of like an autobiography, which is different for a romance. So I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's supposed to become a Netflix show, in case you guys did not know that. So that's one that I'm currently reading right now. I am also currently 58% done with The Girl in the Painting by Max Monroe, and I'm highly recommending this one so far. As of right now, 58% done. I will say that this is a 5-star read for me. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've laughed out loud. I've been sad for the main characters. I'm invested in these characters. It's super good. And I am about 10% through with After We Fell by Anna Todd. And yes, I get it. This book, this whole series is one of those that is ridiculous, and there's a lot of really bad annotations with the couple, and, you know, Hardin is all kinds of ridiculous, and You know, if a girl was actually dating a guy and he acted like this with all the mood swings and stuff, like she would be dating somebody with a serious mental illness and he would be bad news and it would be a whole bad situation in real life. However, Anna Todd's writing style is so good and it is addicting to read this series. I recommend these books. I've given them all 5 stars. I mean, I get it. They're trash, but they're such good trash, if you know what I mean. I really like these books. So anyway, that's the books that I'm currently reading and have read. If you have any books that you want to talk about in the comments, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk with you about any kind of books. If you have any recommendations for me, I will have a recommendations video out soon, and I cannot wait to continue on talking to you guys. So I'll see you later. Have a great day.